Hey folks, walk with me. If I'm timing this correctly, this video is coming out on Thanksgiving Day, 2024. And here in the US, on Thanksgiving, a television network, always plays the movie It's a Wonderful Life. And I love that movie. I don't usually watch it on Thanksgiving, but I have it. And I have it in many different formats, and it means a lot to me. And I was thinking a bit about why it means so much to me. And as I was thinking about it, I was drawing some sort of what felt like strong connections to my story and the ways in which it touches me. So I'll briefly draw those parallels. We'll call this a relatively quick and easy video, as this week we're doing shorter videos because it is the holiday week and all time is compressed basically. But in the movie, I'm not going to do like a recap of the movie, but in the movie, the main character, George Bailey, is, he spends a lot of time sort of taking care of his family. Sorry, that truck was very distracting to me for some reason. He spends a lot of time taking care of his family. So he has these dreams of escaping his small town and going off and exploring the world and going to college. And he ends up postponing and then ultimately not doing those things because his father gets ill and dies. And he then is tasked with taking over the business, and he does so. And then he marries somebody who he had gone to high school with, and they have kids, and so he gets sort of sucked into the world, and he never got to live the life that he had imagined for himself and have the adventures that he wanted to have. And through a series of unfortunate mistakes in the movie, none of which were his fault, his bank ends up with a shortfall. There's a run on the bank, and then there's the police are coming because they have charges of embezzlement or something, and he sort of flees, and he can't handle it, right? And I think in his mind, in the character's mind, he had done everything right, if you will. He had an equation in his head. I have this a lot. I don't realize it at the time, but when I step back, I realize I have a lot of equations in my head whereby I think if I do this and that, it will equal the other thing. And I think the character similarly had this concept of, I am doing right by my family, I'm saving this company, this bank that's important to the town, and I'm doing all the right things. And then he has to give up his dreams to do so. And so there's all this sacrifice, right? And all of this attempt to do what's right for everyone else other than himself. And then still, tragedy befalls him. And he sees no way out, and he contemplates ending it all and tries to, and gets rescued by this angel. And this is where the movie gets really sort of I would say supernatural, but it's just sort of very hokey kind of supernaturalness. But in any case, ultimately this angel ends up convincing him that there's something to live for. He sort of has it, well, his wife takes it upon herself to rally the town along with, I think, his uncle, and they come together and they pitch in on I don't know if it's Christmas Eve or something, and they make up the shortfall that the bank had by everyone in the town coming together, pitching in, and just being happy to help out this person who had meant so much to the town and had given so much of himself to do what he felt was right. And Boy, it's a noisy walk today. And you know, I wouldn't say that I'm like so self-sacrificing as that character is, but I also grew up in a small town, and I always wanted to escape it. And I always had dreams of adventure, and I lived much of that adventure. I spoke before. I put a video on this playlist titled something like my most joyful period in life, or the happiest time of my life, something like that. And I got to do much of those things, but I understand that like sentiment and that feeling, and being just sort of like hell-bent on no one's gonna talk me out of this. This is like, I feel this in my gut, and I need to express it and follow it. And you know, the part that always like just tears me up and breaks me down is when the town comes together and comes through for him. You know, that is something that I guess actually in another video on this playlist, which was the reason I put out that video on like the happiest time of my life. I had previously put out a video called the scariest time of my life, and in there I talk about sort of this very scary period of time, and how I thought that I had friends and people who knew me that would come through and help me out in my like neediest time in life, like the time where I just really, really needed help. And I don't want to say no one came through, because that's not fair, but the people who I thought would come through absolutely did not. And the people who did come through, I don't think, because they were much more acquaintances than anything else, I don't think had like a full picture of what was going on, and a full understanding of the situation. It felt like the more people understood how dire the situation, the less likely they were to help. And so in this movie, he has very much the opposite experience of that, right? He's in his most vulnerable state. He's at this point in time where they are threatening to throw him in jail, right? And he has a young family and a wife to take care of and a business to run. And they're threatening to throw him in jail. And everyone steps up and comes through and prevents that from happening. And it's really touching. It's just one of those things that's, you know, like I say, obviously I connect it in different ways at different points in the movie. I connect it to different points in my life, in some ways in which it was very similar, in some ways in which it was similar, but the outcome was very different. And that's the outcome that the character lives in the movie, is what I would have wished for. And it touches me for that reason. So go watch it if you haven't watched it. You might hate it because it's, you know, super old at this point. I can't recall what year it was made, but it's in black and white. I think they've colorized it at this point, but I always just watch the black and white one. And so, you know, it's that era. But if you can manage watching a video that's that old, I would really recommend it. If you haven't watched it in a long time, maybe rewatch it. It's worth a go, if I could quote another YouTube creator. Anyway, if you're in the US, happy Thanksgiving. If you're not, I hope that you are enjoying your random Thursday where the US just kind of shuts down and does other things. And we've walked nearly 10 minutes by the time all is said and done here. So kudos to you if you walked. And if you didn't, I still appreciate you watching this far. And as always, I will see you in the next video.